in a paradoxical way, this movie gave me faith back in the power of cinema. Like, I was thinking that cinema is maybe something trivial when you compare it to reality. But the fact, because, this movie started with the feeling of helplessness. And it's a sentiment that is explored in this movie. What does it mean to be helpless? And I did it to fight this feeling, to not, like, to say I can do something.
What compelled you to do the film? You've spoken about being glued to the news coming out of Gaza, the ongoing genocide, and experience what you've described as a kind of crisis of meaning as a filmmaker. What was the pull? What was the moment you decided this story was ready for sort of a cinema exploration?
First of all, thank you for coming to watch and to listen to the Voice of Hind Rajab, also to bear witness. A Friday evening. Everything started when I heard the Voice of Hind Rajab for the first time. It was a small extract on internet, published and shared by the Palestinian Red Crescent. They put her small voice in a way to pressure during those 12 days when they had no news of their paramedic and of Hind, to say, tell us where they are, if they are still alive or no. And then her voice was shared all over internet, and like, when you hear it, it's like being witness. You can't there is a responsibility that comes with the fact that you hear her voice, and you ask yourself, what can I do? What I couldn't save her. I can't bring her to life. So I'm a filmmaker. Maybe I can take her voice out of the scrolling of social media and give it space and a place where people can come, sit in a dark room and understand what happened to her and listen to her voice. So it started like this. It started with the Voice of Hind Rajab.
Thank you so much. And can you tell us a little bit about that moment? What was the point that you stopped and thought that you wanted to do a cinema project?
No, in the beginning it wasn't that clear. I mean, the story haunted me, and I couldn't. I was about to start the shooting of another movie that we've been preparing for years, and it was ready finally. I stopped the other project because it wasn't for me. As you said, it was a crisis of meaning. When you have in reality stories or events that are beyond our comprehension. What does it mean to be a storyteller, and how you tell stories that are incredibly painful? And because the human mind is not wired for genocide, because it's the human empathy can't be distributed on huge number. Our empathy is for a village, people village, So when you see numbers, you become numb. It's not. So this is why I wanted also to tell this story, and to take the decision, like, should I do this movie or no? There was only one person that can prevent me from doing it. Is Hind mother. Like, I couldn't do this movie without talking to her and telling her what I want to do. And this was one of the first thing I did. I called Hind mother and we spoke a lot, and she told me, I want justice for my daughter, and if this film can help in a way, please do it. So it became like a kind of responsibility. So then I started working, and I needed to have all the recording, because as I said, they put on internet a small part And then when they shared with me, the Palestinian Red Crescent, the recording, it was about 70 minutes. Then I started really working.
This morning I watched a beautiful exchange that you had with Hind's mother Wasima online, and you in the exchange you can see so much care and so much respect and gratitude in that moment, in that exchange, that you received the story and took care, as well as the entire cast. You can just feel the care and grace and the responsibility shared among all the filmmakers and the cast on screen. Jim, just sort of echoing the same question, when you get a project like this, what is your first instinct? What does it mean to have something like this on screen and to be part of the production?
Well, I've never had a project like this, so it was. I can speak of it in those terms. What did it feel like? I felt compelled to help. After being introduced to it and invited to join Kaouther, and there are two other producers actually. I'm the third of three producers. They're both in the room. Nadim Chekruha over there, who's Kaouther's long-time producer of all her films, and Odessa Ray, my fellow producer over there. And I was introduced to, I heard about the project in May of 2024. I mean, the whole film was made extraordinarily quickly for a typical film. So the incident happened, the murder of Hind and her family and the paramedics in January the 29th. 2024, and I was at the Cannes Film Festival, and actually a few months later, and Odessa came up to me and introduced herself, and the reason she did that is because she recognized me from a film I'd worked on before called The Zone of Interest, that was lucky enough to win a BAFTA and an Oscar, and in the acceptance speeches that the director and I made, we mentioned Gaza because it felt relevant to the themes in that film of selective empathy and who you care about and who you don't. And because of that, Odessa came up to me and said, would you be interested in Gaza as a subject of interest? And I said yes, and we met in London, and she said, do you know who Hind Rajab is? And I did, because I had, like Kaouther and like I assume like millions of people across the world, I had heard the same things, and I can't explain any better than Kaouther explained the feelings that I had, which were similar, and I'm sure millions of people who heard that voice felt the same thing. So I said, so just as a subject, I was interested in it because I had that same feeling of sort of spiritual crisis and despair and like this sort of almost hunger to do it. And I feel that everyone connected with the project, I feel, had a bit of that feeling in them because there are so many other things that happen so fast. So those are the feelings, some of the feelings I had. And then Odessa had told me about Kaouther, and to my embarrassment, I hadn't seen Kaouther's films. I hadn't seen Four Daughters, her previous film. I don't know.
An extraordinary film.
Yeah, extraordinary film. And I watched it, and it blew me away. Its imagination and its her interest in form in it, and the way it experimented with formally, and that as a separate to the subject, the thing that excites me most as a film producer, as someone who's involved in the making of moving films, moving picture cinema, moving picture sound, and the effects it can have is form, and so I thought, oh wow, this this could be really interesting, and I. Formally, and not quite knowing what Kaouther wanted to do, and then we met on a Zoom with Nadim, and Kaouther explained this specific idea of the film you saw, that it would be set in one location, actors would play the Red Crescent volunteers, but the recording would be real, and that was sort of like the other penny dropping for me of alongside my almost emotional and I guess political interest in the subject matter. Formally, this sounded like an extraordinary idea in cinema to do this. So then, from a kind of cinematic point of view, I was like just completely excited of this sort of union of form and content that I felt if it did work, what she described, and when she described that idea of the voice being real, that hairs on the back of my arm like went up, and I thought it could perhaps be a really sort of radical rehumanizing of, just as Kaouther described, an individualizing of the kind of the victims of state violence, in this case, Palestinian victims of Israeli state violence, that otherwise are reduced to, as you said, Kaouther, statistics and background extras in the news, just a sort of flood of victimized, disembodied humanity. And I thought, oh my God, this could, if she pulls this off, this could be a really unprecedented humanization and individualization of the crime, of this mass crime.
And Kaouther, you've explained that Hind's voice is the voice, you've described it as one of the voices and the biggest voices of Gaza, that when you heard it, it felt that it was very representative of that moment. You've also used the phrase of wanting the film to be bulletproof, and which in itself is incredibly profound meaning. And you wanted it to be rooted entirely in truth. I mean, it's very obvious, the truth of the media that you use, the voice recordings. We see footage of the room, almost the situation room of when they're speaking to Hind in her final hours. But in describing the film and you wanting it to be bulletproof, what did that mean in practice? What were the choices that you made?
The movie started with a document, which is the recording. This is something that wasn't recorded to move us. It was recorded because it happened. And because in the Red Crescent, like in any call center, they record the calling. So it was there, and this is something that is true. Also, because, I was thinking, because I did documentaries, that maybe I should do a pure documentary. This is the discussion I had between me and myself before, like, taking the decision to make the movie in this form. And at the time, there was already some body of work of investigation around this case, and you have forensic architect who they did a great job identifying which tank, which weapon, with the satellite image, where the tank, and Washington Post did great piece. And I thought that, so from all this, Al Jazeera, they did the documentary already explaining, and at some times what happened, because this is the documentary question, what happened? I'll explain you what happened, It's not enough in a case like this, So all this body of proof exists, Me, I wanted to take this story step further, to say what is the meaning of what already happened. So the meaning, and there was another thing, that it's still happening, It's not just it happened, Every day I was working, I was editing, we were at Venice Film Festival. I like see the news, you have several Hind Rajab killed, anonymous children, and so on. So I needed to do a movie in the present tense to go back to this moment, and to explain why, And at the same time, when I took this decision, So I need actors, because the only archive I have from this moment is this archive you see in the phone at the end, when they filmed themselves. This for me was important because I needed to be in the perspective of those who listened, but I needed the actor to represent those who listened, you know. So with all those distance from this you know, example of genocide, of this war crime, because also I wanted to be respectful to this little girl and to her memory, with all those elements. I needed to do a film with this form, which was a very risky choice. But because I did For Daughters, and because I experimented in my previous movie this kind of hybrid things, I felt comfortable doing this and taking this risk, but also having this clear contract with the audience, telling them those are actors. They are not the real person. They are actor. And if you remember in the movie, at some point they stop acting and they start listening to the real people till the end, when they become the real people, and we go to an archival thing. I don't know if I answered your question. I think I went too far.
No,
but
that was fantastic. That was great. Which really... I have questions about the actors and your methods and directing methods, because unlike your previous feature, the actors, you asked of the actors to be non-actors, you asked for non-acting, and I believe that much of Hind's voice they heard for the first time on set. Can you talk us through that decision, because it strays from your usual practice or your previous practice, and probably how traditionally one would work with actors as well?
Yeah, when I started the casting, I had in mind the real person, because I wrote the screenplay with their help. I had the recording, but to know what happened in the office, I wrote the screenplay from their testimony. So when I started the casting, I needed Palestinian actors that look a little bit like them, not only physically but also in the temperament. And then when I found those great 4 actors, I put them in contact with the real person so they can work together. And they are great actor, like wonderful actor. I could like ask them anything to do, like any emotion, but I knew from the beginning that this isn't the kind of movie where me, director, I'll direct the actor and tell them to start again and to give me variation, and like a normal fiction, you know. This is my job as a filmmaker, to ask the actor, give me this like in another way, another variation, let's do another take, let's improvise around this. For this movie, since it's something about, and I was obsessed by this idea to be in the present tense, I needed from the actor to be in the present tense, which is very complicated. And also I needed them to learn their lines, especially the lines in the recording, because it's an archive, word by word. They don't have the right, you know, to change the word said by the real person. So how to to succeed this impossible equation, to be faithful to the recording word by word, but at the same time to feel, to be like in the present tense. Like what we found as solution is, I'll not ask you a lot of things. You will just learn your lines as actor do, and you will listen this little girl answering your lines when you will be in front of the camera. So they didn't rehearse like with the Voice of Hind Rajab. So what we see in the screen, it's their genuine emotion. They weren't performing actually, and we showed this like a documentary. And I can see that their emotion is real, and they were really, you know, it's like talking to this little girl, and they were almost in this position of the first responder for the when they heard her voice for the first time. And I couldn't tell them, let's do it again, but in this way. So we shot long takes, and we worked like this.
And you really, and I'm sure the audience would agree, you definitely feel that liveness in performance. There is definitely, and maybe Jim, you can speak to it as well, there's definitely an energy on screen that you get from the actors through that method. But equally, I imagine it's quite a big gamble as well, because I'm being a Palestinian actor in a film that is taking a real testimonial voice of a young child, heartbreaking, but then still remaining in a role to carry the film. You definitely, it's very complex, and it really comes across really well in the screen. Jim, what was your sort of first response when you were seeing sort of like, I don't know how much exposure you got to the rushes of the day or the first screening. What was your sort of vision for the acting and the performance?
Well, I was lucky enough to be, I was on set for a few days, not all the time. So, I saw some of it being filmed, and it was an extraordinary experience to witness, extremely intense, unprecedented, I would say. I didn't know what it would be like. I knew what the idea was because we'd been talking about it through the development and the prep of the film. I must say that it was Nadim and Kaouther who were on the ground prepping initially in France and then in Tunis, and I wasn't. I was in London, so don't want to take any credit away from them or pretend that I was experiencing things which they were. But when I was there for a few days, it was. I hadn't experienced anything like that. I always did wonder. In fact, when you guys told me the idea at the beginning of like, and it was a thrilling kind of danger of like, will that work? Like, what will that be like? I think it's unprecedented. I can't think of a film in content or formally. Obviously I haven't made all the films in the world, but what I know about making films in which actors, performers interact in an ongoing durational conversation with a recording as if it was a live present tense conversation. So in the abstract, it was like, I remember thinking like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if it doesn't sound right? But then to be there, it was extraordinary. And Kaouther's explained, that the call was, the actors didn't hear the voice, and Kaouther had a dialogue. It was almost like a new job on a film set that from what I've seen. Normally on a film set, you have a production sound mixer, is the person with the cart with wheels and machines, and they record the sound, through microphones. But on this set, there was a guy called Elias who sat next to Kaouther, and he had the call. Is this boring? Should I say? And he had an edit of Hind's call with everything she says on a timeline, like GarageBand kind of thing. And he could play any line of hers, which would play into the on-camera earpieces, headsets of the actors, that the prop, but they were real. And Kaouther, you could say, okay, play it now. The actor would say the line back. Maybe I would see you sometimes like hold your hand up to create.
Because sometimes, since they know their lines, but they are hearing the voice for the first time, they say it in longer than the real person, So I need him to wait a little bit so they can take their breath to make it seamless. Because, as you said, I came up with this idea, but I was terrified because it can become like something not
real, or
it can be. So my obsession was how to make this seamless, how to make this, and at the same time, by making it seamless, telling the audience it's a construction, because the actors stop and they listen to the voices, you know. So I needed to be seamless, but at the same time to show the craft to the audience.
So it quote unquote worked, and it was extremely emotional. It was very low budget production. We had very little resources. Normally on a production, you have a headset, like lots of people have them, and you can listen. I think Nadim, there was like one or two, and so we would pass it around, and a bunch of, I could hear the thing, and you know, we've talked about it, and Kaouther and Nadim have talked about it. There were many like extremely emotional moments for everyone, especially the actors. The DP at one point just, you know, broke down, and so you asked me how it felt. It felt intense, emotional, an intensity and an emotion, and sometimes just an intensity. A lot of long takes, as Kaouther said. So I think there was a 30-minute take once. Was that the one where one kind of wept and broke down afterwards?
I don't remember, Jim, because there were so many things. Sometimes I have to go back to. But yeah, I think you are right. You are better than me in those details. You remember them better, because me, it's like pregnant women. You know, you forget the pain. And you are happy with the child. So my memory is not always. So I need to go to the emails, and when I have questions from journalists, because I try to forget everything.
Yeah. But yes, it was an intense and emotional experience, and intensely emotional.
It's really fascinating hearing how you managed the set and sort of how you orchestrated the sound and managed the actors. It really is extraordinary to hear. Just before we go to audience questions, now the film is out in the world and has received, as rightly deserved, an extraordinary response. Are there any questions that you have postpartum, maybe, if we're going to say pregnancy? Do you have any postpartum questions about the industry response, Hollywood's response, audience response, or any questions within yourself?
When we finished the movie, the main idea was, because I'm used to do Arabic-speaking movie about feel-good topic. I'm ironic. I know that this kind of movie is not like you will find the market waiting for you with open arms. You know, you don't have stars with subtitle. Anyway, all the things that you do to not difficult. You know. So the idea was, when we finished the editing, how to make the voice of this little girl echo outside of the niche thing, you know. So we showed the movie to famous people, let's say, hoping maybe one of them will give us his name, to make us go outside of this niche place. And we were really surprised that all of them were really moved by the movie, and all of them wanted to help. So this is what the first reaction, let's say, of the Hollywood celebrities. I mean, one of them is Jonathan Glazer. Jim worked with him on Zone of Interest, and I love Zone of Interest, and he's a great director. Alfonso Cuarón also is a wonderful director. I mean, all of them are great artists. So, and then the movie started at Venice Film Festival, and the reaction was incredible. We won an award, and little by little, we fought a lot. It was a fight. No, it was. I mean, till today, to make people watch it, because people are afraid. And I understand why, because this movie, when you watch it, you become kind of witness on a crime, you know. So you have responsibilities. So people prefer, to look away. This is not happening. I don't know if I can handle it. So anyway, the effect of the movie is becoming bigger and bigger. And we are nominated for the BAFTA and for the Oscar, and we know that for a movie like this, all those spotlights are much needed, so people outside of the circle of people who are interested in different cinema or who are interested in Gaza or can go and also watch this movie. So yeah, I mean,
and you've also talked about your determination to get people, particularly Americans, who are not connected to Gaza and or in any way, to watch it as well, to be involved, to bear witness.
I think about American because of the role and the weight of the United States in what is happening in Gaza. For example, the ambulance was bombed by an American bomb, you know. So because we think that, I mean, America is a democracy until now, I think that people can have power, you know. They need to you can like change, you know, they can question their politician, you know. So this is why I was talking about American audience, but actually I wanted this movie to be shown all over the world, and it's here in UK cinema, so and it will be distributed in so many countries. So yeah, till now I like the voice of Hind Rajab is echoing. Yeah.
I agree. Just briefly, I've made, I think, produced 12 films and altogether, I don't know, probably 15, 16 feature films as a producer, executive, and I have never had an experience with a film that has had such an intense response from people when they see the film, but more than any. Zone of interest, any. And, you know, a spectrum of films. Some films have been successful, some films haven't, but I've never, not even close, when people see the film. But it's also interesting, as Kaouther said, that people, and I'd almost be interested to hear what you guys might think or say about this, as, you know, be interested to have a conversation on one of these things, having seen it. But also, as Kaouther says, there is, we understand a fear sometimes that we hear expressed to us. I'm talking sometimes about people who are politically aligned, you know, sympathetic, Palestinian solidarity, whatever, or just neutral, but they think, you know, I'm frightened to see it because of what I hear it's about. I think it would be too harrowing, or I'll be too upset. Yet our experience going back to Venice, I mean, Venice was unprecedented. I've been at a lot of film festivals, Kaouther has too. The film had a 24-minute standing ovation. I've never experienced anything like it. It was a sort of almost temple, like a sort of outpouring of some deep primal grief and emotion. And so something's happening when people experience this film, and clearly there's this fear as well. And I'm personally interested in the difference between those two feelings and what people who maybe have come to see it tonight, but what they feel now and what they might feel if they were talking to somebody else about who expressed a fear to see it, and why they think it might be something you should see.
I mean, I would say that the film, Kaouther, you take such good care of the audience. The particularly through Nisreen's character, she just kind of holds the audience. She tells us to breathe. She gives us these wonderful visuals of sweets. I think it was sweets and sea and breath. And there's a reconciliation at the end where we speak, or we see Wasima Hind's mum speaking to us as well at the audience. So I do feel that the audience is very much held. But the water and the sun is something. It was very calming, and it helped me get through the second part of the film. Now I would like to pass it on to our lovely audience. Great. Yes, if you have your hands up, and I'll get to you. So we'll do these four. Yes, just over here. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, a crime has taken place, and this is like a microcosm of a bigger crime. What does justice look like, and how do you not fall into hate or despair? And do we know who the particular soldiers were who did this crime?
I mean, I think that everybody wants peace, but I don't think that there will be peace without accountability and justice. And I told you what Hind mother told me. I want justice for my daughter. I think justice is something very important, but we live in a world where there is no accountability with the Israeli army. And we live in a world when you have the biggest gun, you rule the world. This Trump world, he's offering us this perspective. So it's a proposition that is not good at all. Like, you should be. It's the jungle law. So yeah, I mean, accountability is very important. And the Israeli position in the beginning was, we weren't there, it's not us. And then when they were confronted with proof, they said, okay, we'll investigate it. Like, they will investigate themselves. And 2 years after, the second anniversary was 2 weeks ago, they were contacted by Reuters, I think, to comment if they found something, where is the investigation. They said, we are still investigating. So yeah, we live in this world. How to deal with it? I mean, because some people told me, and we had this discussion, if you remember, don't do the movie right now, wait, like maybe like a historic movie, do it after. And I was thinking, wait for what? Like, there will be a trial, there will be something about no. So I did this movie also in this kind of emergency, and with all this anger, I would say, to make it a tool, for decision maker, for NGO, so they can ask for this justice and this accountability.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to ask specifically about the Red Crescent workers, the real Red Crescent workers, and kind of the relationship you've had after this filming. How have they kind of reacted to the fallout of the movie, and specifically just what happened that day while they were listening to Hind Rijab?
Yeah, as I said, they were really a great partner from the beginning. I wrote the screenplay with their testimony, and when we finished the editing, they were the first person we wanted to show them the editing. So we organized a screening in Ramallah in their offices. They have a movie theater. And the first time when they saw the movie, their reaction was, it's not normal, like you see yourself portrayed by an actor on screen, It's a very, very weird thing that I know it because I did hybrid movies before. They were crying, so they had a hard time to watch all the movie, and then little by little they watch it and they rewatch it again, and they are advocate for the movie. They love the movie, and we met together, actually, the actor and them. We gathered together, and they are very proud of the movie, and we did another screening recently there, and it was wonderful.
I would highly recommend, if a nice plug for Kaouther, if you follow Kaouther on Instagram, there's these amazing reels. I see some people nodding, they know exactly what I'm talking about, where the actors are talking to the team at the Red Crescent, and it is just absolutely wonderful exchange. It really humbling to watch, so I'd definitely encourage you to watch that after seeing the film. And we have a question right at the back, brown cardigan.
Okay, hello. First off, thank you so much for making this film. I'm glad the voice of Hind Rajab was able to come to us again here today so clearly and present it so well. I thank everyone involved in the film. I agree that we live in a world without accountability. And so it's very sad that sometimes it feels like our best chance to make a change is to make a dramatization or a film about what's actually happening. I think that's fair as well. It's easy to get lost in the numbers, the thousands and thousands who have been killed. My question is, with Hind, it was such a sad story, and the amazing work of the aid workers and everyone involved. They managed to capture the tragedy and the suffering and the how wrong it was, what happened. And so they made the film, in a sense, they made the film. So they already made the perfect story, and you've done an amazing job by finishing their work. But, the conflict is still going. So my question is, if there was to be another story or another film about this subject matter, and I feel like there needs to be more films, there needs to be more stories about the subject matter, what would that next film be? Because we don't have a story as clear-cut as Hind Rajab's story. But of course there are probably thousands of stories, tens of thousands of stories that need to be told. Do you have any ideas?
Thank you.
Yeah, as you said, there are thousands and thousands of stories. What was interesting, that when the movie was screened at in Gaza, they had it was in October. I received an email from a Palestinian director who told me they are launching the first edition of a new festival in Gaza. I was like, what? And it was very moving. We showed the movie. They did it was in the middle of the rubbles. You have this screen. They brought chair like this, and they did a red carpet fixed with rocks, from the building. So it was very, very moving. And I was I wanted to know what is the reaction of Gazan people, of the movie. And the main reaction was, this story, we had thousands, So I don't know what is the next story, but I'm sure that, because till now we don't understand the scale of what happened in Gaza. Gaza is closed. No journalists are allowed to enter, and the journalists who are inside are killed. So what do we have from Gaza? We have unfiltered images, raw images of Gazan people filming themselves, dying. So this stream of images, unfiltered, where you don't have PR behind them or a mainstream media that can organize them and tell the story of, in the construction of things. So mainly we don't know. It will take us time, years and years and years, to grasp a little bit the scale of what happened in Gaza. And and you have wonderful Palestinian filmmaker. They already started working on this, so I think you will see a lot of movies, and I hope good one also.
Thank you for your
Thank
question. We'll take, if you could just pass the mic.
Can I go?
Across? Yeah.
Hello. Thank you. Just to echo my friend's sentiments as well. Thank you again for making this film and trying to make it as accurate as the events took place. The question I had relates to the creation of this piece of art, essentially. And I think a lot of people are under the assumption that when you create a film like this and you put it out into the world, or any film, and you get all this acclaim and popularity, it's the thing that transforms you. But I think as an artist, you know that it's actually the creation of it from start to finish and putting it out into the world as you envisioned it is the thing that's actually transforming. And so I wanted to ask you, was this how has this changed you is my main question. And
This
you talked
changed.
how has it changed you as a person creating this and as a mother yourself? And you described this as a baby almost. So was this like a cathartic experience finally putting out into the world, or was it traumatizing for you to piece this all together?
I think that in a paradoxal way, this movie gave me faith back in the power of cinema. Like, I was thinking that cinema is maybe something trivial when you compare it to reality. But the fact, because, this movie started with the feeling of helplessness. And that's a sentiment that is explored in this movie. What does it mean to be helpless? And I did it to fight this feeling, to not to say I can do something. And this is what I tell audience in general, I did this movie because I felt helpless, and it's so easy to feel helpless and to think that we can do anything. Everybody can do something. So this, by experiencing this and experiencing also the reaction of the audience, they often ask me, what can we do, and everybody can do something in his scale. So yeah, it gives me in a way back faith in cinema, that it can be an effective tool for empathy, for action, and this is very very important.
Thank you so much. Yes, please.
Yes, just want to say hello and well done for making the film, and congratulations on the BAFTA Oscar nominations. Well done. My question to you is, if anything, what would you hope to come out of the Voice of Hind Rajab? What would you hope to come out of the Voice of Hind Rajab? What change do you hope it will make? And what could it inspire? With the film, what could it inspire, and what change will come out of it?
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
So what do you hope? Thank you. That was such a great question. What change?
What could it inspire? I suppose in a way you talked about it with justice. What change?
What would you hope the change and the inspires? Oh la la. I think hopefulness is a sort of a belief that art can move people into action and into resistance. Is probably one of the biggest takeaways.
At the same time, I'm not naive. I know it's not enough, but I believe in the collective power. Like, if everybody can do something, the collective wave of doing things can change maybe something, because I make zoom out about our situation in the human history. We came up after World War II, at least in the West, with this set of rules to prevent what happened in World War II. And now today, with what happened in Gaza and with the position of the Western country covering and being complicit, we feel that this set of law and international law is not this world is crumbling, and there is something very dark coming. We live in a very, very shady period. And I always think about this sentence of an Italian philosopher. His name is Antonio Gramsci. He was talking about between two wars, but I feel that it can be said now. He said that the old world is dying, the new world is not yet here, and in this clair-obscur, shady, you have monsters, and we I think we are seeing some monsters, and we need change. We need to accelerate, the new world coming. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, well done.
Thank you. And one final question just from the back, grey jacket. Thank you, please.
Thanks very much. Thank you both for coming tonight and explaining the film. It's been an extremely moving experience. I felt like I was sitting with the Red Crescent, to be honest with you, during the film. My question is, though, this week we've seen at the Berlinale the shutting down of any discussion on Palestine. I just wondered if you had any challenges in showing the film. Is there any places where you couldn't screen the film around the world?
If there are places
Is there any places that the film has been refused or not screened yet? If
you have any challenges having the film screened anywhere in the world?
you can answer this.
Yeah, Jim, this might be a good question for you actually.
I would say
Producer.
the film. I don't think we've had any substantive challenges. The film is being distributed all over the world. France, all over Europe. It's done incredibly well in France, Italy. It's out here. It's out in the US. It's coming into its 9th or 10th week of release in the US. So without sounding naive about the challenges for a Arab language film, without famous actors in it, about the subject matter, in an environment where in certain countries, particularly in the West, our own, especially the United States of America, this country here, France, Germany, there's been an incredibly censorious atmosphere towards expressions of solidarity for the victims, the Palestinian victims of the Israeli state's crimes against them, not just in the genocidal assault on Gaza, but in almost 80 years of dispossession, humiliation, land theft, mass violence. So, which is how we get to where we are now. So we're not naive about the world's complicity, especially the West's complicity in averting their eyes from those crimes. Having said that, as we've explained, the film is out there. It's nominated for an Oscar. It's nominated for a BAFTA next Sunday. Don't know if there are any BAFTA voters here. So, challenges. There's always challenges in getting a film out there, and to a degree, I suppose our journey to find distribution in America was a little slower because of that. But having said that, we're going to be at the Oscars in a month, so I don't know.
I think that deserves a round of applause. I think it's an extraordinary feat for a film like this.
Yes and no, I guess, would be the answer, but mainly no. And I think, not to be seller, but that could be a note to leave it on, because you guys have just experienced, you can go out there into the world, you can spread the word, you can tell your friends and family, you can post about it. And one thing I can tell you as a filmmaker, and we're all filmmakers, and all research shows this, the most persuasive reason that anyone chooses to go and see a film, of all the methods of advertising, trailers, ads, is word of mouth. So when you tell somebody, when a friend or someone recommends a film to you, that is always the most compelling form of kind of promotion of a film. So in a sense, we leave the film with you.
And that is how we keep cinema alive. And it's important. And I just want to close on what Kaouther said, that it put your belief back in cinema and the power of cinema, and I think that's a really powerful note to finish on. Thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us and staying with us on Friday night. I'd like to wish you happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. So by sharing the love, please share your thoughts and feelings in this film. These films are very important. It's already had a profound effect on the entire world, and it's our duty to keep that going. Thank you again so much. It's been an honor and privilege to sit with you, Kaouther and Jim. Thank you so much for your time this evening, and get home safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.